Hi guys, welcome back to Wentworth Life, the YouTube channel that talks everything Wentworth. If you're new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button right now for all future updates, and if you stick around until the end of the video, I will be responding to some of your lovely comments from a previous video. Now, it's also probably worth mentioning that in this video we are going to be talking about Season 8, Episode 1 in great detail. So if you haven't already seen today's episode and you don't want anything spoiled for you, then you need to stop watching this video right now. Go watch the episode, then come back. But if you love spoilers, then you can continue watching. So, anyway, wow, what an amazing first episode. New characters, car crash, fight scenes, and nasty finger scene. Believe me, guys, we had it all. So, as a whole, what a great episode. And it's just so good to have Wentworth back in our lives. Even just the recap moment at the start of the episode where they show you what happened in the previous season to refresh your memory was just golden. I just love it so much. So anyway, I'm going to jump straight in, and where is the best place to start? Right at the beginning. So, before the new opening credits even rolled, we are greeted with two new characters, Lou and Reb. And they are both basically in a jewellery store shopping for rings. So Lou asks the guy if she can try on one of the rings, but he literally just tells her that it's very, very expensive. However, Lou is adamant she wants to get her hands on that ring. So the security guard behind them, he can sense that something isn't quite right and starts walking towards them, but then Lou pulls out some guns and literally just tells the guy behind the counter to empty all the jewellery into a bag, while Reb ties up the guard. And both of them just make a quick getaway in a car, and they drive down a narrow alleyway to make their escape. But unfortunately, they are blocked by a lorry at the other end, so Lou slams the car into reverse and drives back out, almost squishing a guy. And just when they think they're about to get away with it, a taxi crashes into them. The car won't start, Reb has hurt his ribs, and they literally have nowhere to run. Now, what I loved about this scene was that Reb tells Lou to make a run for it, otherwise she'll end up back behind bars. But Lou literally tells Reb not a chance, holds his hand and stays with him. And it was great to see, because even though we have been led to believe that Lou Kelly is this new nasty character that has joined in Wentworth, it's great to add some depth and some layers to the character, rather than just have someone just coming in and being a bully with that's it type of thing. I mean, we've had that before with Costa, with Juice, but it was a nice refreshing change. And you could literally clearly tell how much Lou wants to look after Reb. She's devoted. They're devoted with each other. And I mean, we find out later in the episode that Reb literally needed something like, I think it was 40 grand for his operation. So that's why Lou decided to try and rob the jewelers in the first place. So anyway, cue the new credits. Now, I know a lot of you don't like the new opening credits, and I kind of agree, only a little bit. But at the same time, I actually don't mind them. I love the graphics, I don't mind the music update, but what I wish they did do is keep the lyrics in, or at least some of them. Just a little bit. But saying that, would it have worked? Maybe they tried that. They tried that with the lyrics, it was too awful, so this is what we've been left with. But anyway, I think we all just need to take a little bit of time out, and we'll all get used to them. Alright guys, that's what I think anyway. So anyway, we are back in prison. Mr. Jackson is given a staff meeting in regards to Lou Kelly and Reb Keane, telling everyone about Lou's history with the prison. Basically, she's fearless, she's volatile, and at this point we get to see the new general manager, Anne Reynolds. Now, I am not too sure what I think about Anne Reynolds at this stage, but I will talk a lot more about her in just a moment. So continuing on, Mr. Jackson tells the staff to literally just be on their guard, as there's a bus full of new inmates on its way to Wentworth. So on the bus we have Lou and Reb. Now Lou is constantly checking that Reb is okay, basically telling him that he'll be fine, prison is just a walk in the park. But there's a random prisoner who is sitting behind them who starts to taunt Reb, literally saying things like, you'll do alright in prison because you're dressing like a bloke, and saying that she'll meet him for a gangbang later type of thing. So when the bus arrives at the prison, they are met with a load of officers, including Will, Jake and Linda. They're all there. And before they get off the bus, there's a fly. You guys know what's coming, but there's a fly on the bus that's been flying around, bothering Lou. And when the fly lands on the window, Lou uses the opportunity to kill the fly by using that inmate's head, the one who was taunting Reb. So she pretty much gets a good beating by Lou, with Lou smashing her head over and over again at the fly. Safe to say the fly is dead. And but this is all in front of the officers who are just outside the bus, who can witness and see everything that is going on. So Lou just don't care, does she? And so the officers drag her off the bus and put it down the slot. And Reb is looking a little bit worried without his protector. So while Lou is actually dragged into the prison, she catches eyes with Boomer. So Boomer obviously remembers Lou from all those years ago. And Boomer runs out into the yard, and she, to tell Ali and the girls about Lou Kelly. And she basically tells Ali that her nickname is Fingers Kelly, and apparently this is because she used to break people's fingers back in the day. Ugh. So I'm loving Ali's new look in this scene. She's looking fantastic. What a change. Very different to the Ali we all used to, isn't it, guys? But Ali doesn't even bat an eyelid about Lou Kelly. She looks like she's got a great crew with her, and she's just not looking worried. So anyway, poor Reb is now alone and has to have a strip search with Miss Miles. And this is a very interesting scene. So Miss Miles has literally had some sort of personality transplant, because she's literally gone very nasty. And I know it's been said in magazine articles that Linda's storyline is going to feature with her suffering from PTSD after the siege. But I kind of want the nice Smiles back. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this storyline pans out. And anyway, when Reb refuses to strip, Linda pulls out this massive baton and threatens to literally force Reb to strip. But yeah, she's got that nasty streak about her at the moment. Ferguson would be proud. Anyway, Lou is now in the slot, and next door to her is Mari Winter, looking a little worse for wear. Now, she has literally hit rock bottom, and Jake heads over to give her an airing, and she's let out into the yard all alone, with only Jake in the background keeping her company. So Dr. Miller basically tells Will that he can't keep her in isolation forever, but Will literally just says it's the least that she deserves. So then Greg tells Will that he doesn't know how much longer Mari's mental health will be able to cope. So Will instructs Jake to transfer Mari to the protection unit, where basically all those new prisoners on the bus are being kept, including Reb. So Mari isn't happy to be moving in with a bunch of weirdos, as she puts it, but she soon spots Reb in protection in one of the cells and decides to make friends with him. And there's going to be a little bit more on this later. So after hearing about Fingers Kelly, Ali tells Will that she needs to go and meet Lou to set her straight on a few things. So Mr. Jackson takes her to the slot, and Ali meets Lou Kelly for the first time. So Ali basically introduces herself as top dog and tells Lou that there'll be no trouble in her prison, and Lou just turns her back on Ali. And at this point, Ali seems to think that Lou is laughing at her, but actually Lou is crying, and basically just tells Ali just give her a minute. And so Lou goes on to then tell Ali that she has to be with Reb to protect him. She tells Ali that Reb doesn't deserve to be in prison after everything that he's been through. And once again, I really like this scene because we get to see a different side to Lou. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's going to be a lot of times when Lou is literally acting and to get what she wants. But moments like this, she's being genuine because she loves Reb. Now, and I think Lou will pretty much do anything for Reb. And it's at this point that Ali takes pity on Lou and decides to give her a chance. So Ali agrees to speak to Mr. Jackson to get Lou and Reb out into general and back together, but much to Boomer's horror, who tries to tell Ali that Lou is a total psycho, but Ali is adamant just to give them a chance, and she tells all the women, give them both a chance. Will Ali live to regret this decision? I think so. Anyway, moving back over to Anne Reynolds now, who, in my opinion, is definitely not anyone to trust. Anne meets up with Vera and baby Grace at a cafe, and Anne, before the scene starts, Anne's already making a complaint that her coffee is not hot enough, and this makes me think that she's going to be hard work, and she's also a woman who is used to having her own way, so heaven forbid when things start going wrong for her. It's going to be quite interesting to see. But anyway, Anne is trying to tempt Vera back to Wentworth as governor, telling her that she cannot sort Wentworth out without her. But Vera literally tells Anne that she's only been on maternity leave for 3 months and thinks it's too soon to come back. But she'll have a think about it. And a little bit later in the episode, Vera brings baby Grace into the prison to see the women. And it's at this point Anne tells Vera that she is planning on getting rid of Mr. Jackson. So basically, Mr. Jackson is going to get the blame for the siege. But Vera tells Anne that she's not ready to come back yet, and that's that. Refuses. And sticking with baby Grace now, in a really lovely scene, Vera shows the women baby Grace and lets Boomer basically hold her. Now, in this scene again, Anne is showing her authority quite unnecessarily, in my opinion. The women are literally at the fence, just taking a look and saying hello to baby Grace, and Anne is telling them to get back from the fence. And she tries to get Miss Miles involved as well, but Vera tells Anne that it's fine, and she basically goes into the yard and lets Boomer have a hold. So this makes me think that with Anne being so strict on authority, and with Miss Miles turning nasty, could we be in for a big riot later on in the season, where the women just get pushed over the edge? It's happened in other TV, in prison dramas, where the women are pushed to the edge by the officers, and I can see something like that happening. It would be interesting, wouldn't it, guys? Anyway, if we just quickly jump back to that cafe scene, Vera and baby Grace are being watched by an unknown person. But of course, we know who it is. It's Ferguson, Freaky Ferguson, and she's taking photos of them. But a little bit more on this later on. So I'm going to head back into prison now, back to the protective wing, and one of those new prisoners is beating up another prisoner. And Reb is watching the whole thing from his cell door. Now, I think Reb is pretty much freaked out at this stage, and Mari can see how scared Reb is and decides to make friends with him, and brings him some food. So we learn a bit of history about Reb and Lou in flashback scenes, which is quite horrific, some of them. So we got Reb and Lou, they're basically at some weird place, mental home, whatever you want to call it, where basically people get sent to be fixed, and I use the term loosely. Obviously with Reb's case, it's all to do with her transgender, transitioning and things, and that's why he's been sent there. But yeah, so basically while Reb is there, she makes friends with Lou, and during a horrific scene, Reb is literally strapped to a chair with some of those weird things on his head, like one of those things that sends you electric shocks, like electric shock therapy, while he's like strapped and watching naked men and women bodies and stuff on the screen. Quite disturbing. But then Lou comes in and saves Reb, and I think that is the start of their beautiful relationship, because Lou saved Reb. So Reb tells Mari that her and Lou have been together for about 2 years and they've never spent a night apart. Already, guys, I am loving Reb and Lou's relationship, even though Lou is a total psycho. Could Reb maybe tame Lou as the series goes on, or will it go the other way? Will Lou bring Reb to the dark side and become a deadly duo as the season progresses? Interesting. Anyway, Reb is told that she's now allowed to go back into general, but Dr. Miller does a quick check just to see if he's okay, and it's more or less at this moment we learn about the electric shock therapy flashback scene thing, which isn't very nice. So Lou Kelly is already back in general and meets with Ali in the dining room. So Lou says thank you to Ali for what she's done and sits with Ali and the crew. Now it's hard to tell if Lou is actually being genuine or not. There just seems to be this unpredictable thing going on with her at the moment, which I suppose is fantastic, because we want to keep watching. We want to see how it's going to pan out. Is she being genuine or not? And anyway, Lou says hello to Boomer, and then tells Boomer that she's just heard about what happened to Liz. And Boomer is looking a little bit scared at this point, because Lou goes on to say that Liz was like a mum to her all those years ago. but literally tells Boomer that what she did was beautiful. But once again, guys, we don't really know if Lou is being genuine here or not, or if she's actually really secretly pissed off with Boomer for what she did to Liz. And I suppose with Boomer knowing what Lou Kelly is really like, then this will probably explain why Boomer is looking a little bit worried in this scene. So later on, Reb is reunited with Lou, and the pair have a massive hug and a kiss, and Lou takes Reb back to the unit. So all happy with those two at the moment. Okay, so let's talk Ferguson, shall we? I didn't forget, guys. Ferguson plays a good part in this first episode. So back on the outside, we now know that Ferguson is stalking Vera and taking photos. Now, Ferguson is living in this grotty, rundown little hut thing. And on the wall, she has all these photos of Vera and baby Grace, and just basically following everything that she's doing. But something I thought that was really interesting was that on one of her sticky notes, Ferguson has actually written, met up with Anne Reynolds. So how does Ferguson know Anne Reynolds' name, like her full name? So Ferguson must know her from somewhere from the past, or is Anne Reynolds secretly working with Ferguson? It's definitely got me thinking, guys. Let me know what you think on that one. So during the episode, we don't learn about how Ferguson got out of that box, but I do believe the writers are saving up that moment in a flashback scene a little bit later on down the season, which I'm so excited for. But when Ferguson goes to cash in her doll check, we learn that she is using a fake name, Kath Maxwell. And there is a guy who was in the queue behind her, and he's looking a bit shocked when he hears the name Kath Maxwell being called out. So when Ferguson goes to the cash point to get her money, this guy has followed her, and he's just asking her, you know, is her name Kath Maxwell? And he's saying that he once had a friend called Kath Maxwell, but he hasn't seen her around for a long time. And he also goes on to say that Ferguson looks exactly like his friend Kath Maxwell, which is interesting. So it's making me think, and probably you guys are thinking, that the real Kath Maxwell is the person who was buried in the box. So Ferguson must have killed this original Kath Maxwell and stolen her identity, but we'll find out more about this as the season goes on, as I do not think it's that straightforward at all. Anyway, things start getting a little bit darker when we learn during the episode that Ferguson has been buying 2 passports. One for herself and one for baby Grace. So it's looking like that Ferguson is seriously planning on stealing Grace and fleeing the country. Why is she doing this? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But let's just pray she doesn't get away with it. Anyway, back to the prison. So Lou and Reb are back together and everything is happy. So Lou introduces Reb to the women, and Ruby asks Reb if he wants to play basketball. Now, Reb looks at Lou like he's either asking for permission, or I think maybe he's just checking with Lou if it's a good idea. I mean, with Reb not knowing what prison life is like, that's what I'm going with. So Lou gives him the nod that it's fine, you go play basketball. Reb seems fine. Ruby seems fine, beg your pardon. And Lou then asks Boomer if she has a problem with Reb. And with Boomer being Boomer, she puts her foot in it, and Boomer basically asks Lou a load of random silly questions about Reb becoming a man, and you know, it almost looks like Boomer's taking the piss, but I don't think she means to. And then Boomer basically asks Lou, how is their relationship going to work if Lou is a lesbian? If Reb's going to eventually one day become a man, then how is their relationship going to work? And I think Boomer really hit a nerve there with Lou, because I literally think Lou has been putting that thought at the back of her mind and trying to block it out for the time being. So the fact that Boomer does this and says this in front of all the women, Lou ain't happy. Not happy at all. But she just tells Boomer that she's going to join Ruby and Reb for basketball. But later on, while Boomer is in the shower block, Luke Haley is waiting for her with a crew and punches Boomer to the floor. Lou then puts a bag over Boomer's head and starts to suffocate her, and basically just taunting her about Liz by saying, now you know how Liz must have felt. Ugh. And she causes poor Boomer to wet herself in fear, so Lou then pulls the bag off Boomer's head and tells her that if she ever talks about Reb like that again, then she will kill her, leaving Boomer crying on the floor. And it's not a nice scene to watch. I mean, let's be fair, it's our favourite Boomer, and Boomer didn't mean any harm. You know what Boomer's like, and oh god. But anyway, Lou is about to learn the hard way not to mess with Ali's friends. So Ali and Ruby visit Boomer in the cell and they try to calm her down, and it's during this scene you can really see how much Boomer is suffering after what happened with Liz. And Ali manages to calm her down, and she decides with Ruby, now is the time to take action against Lou Kelly, which I just love. There's no walking on eggshells, there's no going to have a chat, it's straight to action. So Ali, Ruby, Boomer and the rest of the crew go to Lou and Reb's unit. Now, Lou is grabbed by some of the women and Reb is held back. Ali then pulls out a huge pair of scissors and threatens to cut off Lou's finger if she doesn't say sorry to Boomer. But Lou, being the fearless person that she is, calls Boomer a baby and starts to taunt Ali and basically tells Ali that she doesn't think she's top dog material. So Ali just brings the scissors down with all her might and cuts her finger off. Like, she cuts it clean off. Very gruesome scene. I'm really sorry for the screenshots that you're seeing. Anyway, Ali didn't even batter an eyelid during this scene, and she showed no emotion. She didn't care. She was badass. Such a brilliant climax to this episode. Now, with just another thing to mention from this week's episode, we have Rita on the outside and on tag. So she's still in hiding, getting ready to give evidence against, is it Michael Hoffman, and the rest of the corrupt government, basically. So Rita is being bodyguarded by someone. However, I do not trust this guy. I don't know if it's just me, guys, but this bodyguard does not look trustworthy. And anyway, towards the end of this episode, we learn that the Attorney General has been found dead in his cell. So I'm not sure if he's been murdered or if it's suicide. But I'm not sure what this now means for Rita now that he is dead, because the whole point of her being in protection to give evidence was to get him sent to jail and whoever else that was working with him. So now that he's dead, does that mean now case closed and Rita will have to go back to Wentworth now that there's no case? I mean, I'm not too sure at this point. We'll know more details next week. But it's also not looking too good for Mari, because during the episode, Mari had agreed to give evidence against Hoffman, meaning that she would have certain charges dropped, which would also mean that one day she would be eligible for parole. So basically, she'd have something to look forward to and she'd be able to start planning the future eventually. But now that Hoffman is dead, is her deal now out the window? There's no more deal. So it's definitely throwing a massive spanner in the works for Mari and Rita. And Rita really does need to watch her back now, because the people are coming for her. And I think next week's episode is going to have a big feature of Rita and Mari and their predicament. So exciting times, guys. So like I said, an absolutely fantastic start to the new season. I think this season is going to be off the scale. I mean, like, we'll be looking back in about a year's time and thinking, wow, they really outdid themselves for season 8. I'm loving the new characters, and it's great to see Ferguson back. So many questions I need answered, but I know we're going to have to wait for the next 10 weeks to see how it pans out. And I've just been having a quick look over on Twitter and people's reactions on there. We've got like periodic reminder that Wentworth is one of the best shows on TV. This rewatch has me shook. We've got Wentworth did not disappoint. I'm needing to see a bit more Leah Purcell on my screen though. So excited for this season. As usual, great first episode to the season. Welcome new inmates. I'm obsessed with you already. That opening scene was brilliant. Also Ali, wow. I'm already impressed with Top Dog Ali. Ali Novak is a bad bitch as Top Dog. That final scene though, wow. So we've got some brilliant reviews so far over on Twitter. So so let me know in the comments box below, guys, what was your favourite part of this week's episode? I think for me, it was definitely the finger scene, but I'm just a bit of a sick bastard. But I also enjoyed seeing Boomer holding the baby. But let me know, what were your favourite moments from the first episode? And seeing as we're on the subject of comment, it's now time to respond to some of your lovely comments from a previous video. So we have Alicia of the Dead. I think Ali will be a great top dog after seeing her chopping off Luke Kelly's finger off. She's got balls. I have to agree with you. I think this is only the starting point for Ali, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come. I'm more interested though in seeing how she's going to cope in a fight scene, because that will be the breaking point for me. If she can't fight, then she can't be top dog. I mean, anyone can chop off a finger, can't they? So, anyway, thank you for your comment. We've got Ian Bennett. You're not related to Vera, are you, Ian? Sorry, couldn't resist. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it for Wentworth returns Wednesday the 5th of August on 5-star. World War III Bennett versus Nasty Ferguson. Let's get it on. Yes. So, the UK, it was originally going to be on Saturday the 1st of August, but it got changed last minute. And that is for Channel 5-star. But yeah, it got changed last minute to Wednesday the 5th of August. Not sure why. I heard rumours that it was because they get better viewing figures on the weekday than on a Saturday, which I can understand. But yeah, mark it in your diary, you guys. It is Wednesday the 5th of August, 5-star. Make sure you watch it. Even if you watch it in other ways before it hits the UK, make sure you watch it on 5-star as well to keep those viewing figures up. Thank you for your comment, Ian. We've got Kaylee Dick. So, don't like Anne, she's a bossy cow. I have to agree with you, Kaylee. I put myself in a situation where, would I get on with this person in real life? Hell no, we would clash. We are total opposites. But yeah, she's a tough woman, but I think we're going to see... I can't wait to see how it goes when things start going wrong for her, because she's clearly somebody who's used to getting her own way. And I can't wait to see what happens when things don't go her way. It's going to be brilliant. Thank you for your comment, Kaylee. And we've got Lucivina Sosa. I'm so sorry if I didn't say that correctly, but your comment is, who else cried when Boomer held baby Grace? So adorable. Jane Hall is great in this. Perfect role for her. I didn't cry, but I did feel just a little bit emotional, especially when Boomer turns around and said, "Oh, Liz should be here now to see this." That was quite sad. And I agree, Jane Hall is a fantastic actress. She is the one who was playing Anne Reynolds. I remember her in Neighbours, and I loved her in that as well. So we definitely have got some good things to come from Jane Hall. Thank you for your comment. And we've got Jono Langford. Yes, I think it's a game changer with the finger chop. Revenge will happen. Yes, definitely. I think they always do something shocking in the first episode, but then the rest of the season is off the scale. So this is just a warm up, guys. This is just a warm up. I think Luke Kelly will be coming back, and she'll be chopping off Ali's head or something. Do you know what I mean? I reckon somebody might have the head chopped off this season. Do you reckon? Maybe Ferguson? No, not Ferguson. She's going to be here till season 9. Maybe that's how Ferguson will die. Somebody will chop her head off. That way we know she's dead. Anyway, guys, thank you all for your lovely comments. Keep them coming. So for next week's episode, I have uploaded a trailer on this channel. If you haven't seen it already, just go and have a look. But quick summary, it's looking like that Mari is going to go nuclear in the prison next week. She wants to be back in general, but it looks like that Mr. Jackson isn't going to be playing ball, and she is going to be out for revenge. And we also have Ferguson getting very, very close to baby Grace in the back of Vera's car. So it's looking like next week's episode is going to really keep us glued and on the edge of our seat. Brilliant times. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, guys. It's great to be back doing review videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all future updates. I will be back very soon with a brand new video. So take care, guys. I will see you all very soon.